Hello friends and fellow benders, welcome back to our Avatar Legends series. Today, as is usual, we are just going to jump right back into it. Last we left our companions, they were standing in Captain Mosey's lodge that sits atop a beautiful hill overlooking the sea on all sides. Captain Mosey had expressed his need or desire to start a riot tonight at the meeting down at Captain's Hall, where all the other pirate captains are going to gather to go over some information, because the current leader of these pirates, Captain Ninka, says she has something special to tell all of them. We are pretty sure that something special has something to do with the cargo that was stolen, and her main goal, as far as we know, is to restart the war, which she and all the other pirates would profit from. Now, as I said, Captain Mosey has expressed a desire to incite a riot, and the reason he wishes to do this is because he has recently been in contact with Captain Kangana, who was the previous leader of all these pirates here on Crimson Sails. So if he can get Captain Ninka out of the picture, she would be free to retake her place as leader. So of course, when our companions came literally knocking at his door with essentially the same plan, although as long as our companions get the stolen cargo and make it back to the Fire Nation, they don't really care how it gets done. And this is a means to both of these ends. So that is where we stopped last time. And I am going to introduce Lyra once again. Hey Lyra, we are beginning our Session 5 video of our Avatar Legends playthrough. Could you please introduce yourself and what character you're going to be playing for us today?
Of course. Hi everyone, I'm Lyra, and I'll be joining Vargar for today's session of our Avatar Legends playthrough. I'll be playing the character Kahola, a young waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe, who has a bit of an angsty and arrogant side. He's also a member of the Icy Hand Pirates, and has some interesting dynamics with the other characters. Let's see where today's adventure takes us.
Perfect, thank you Lyra. Alright, so without further ado, let's get right back into it. So I am not going to really roleplay anything in between when our companions are, well, standing in Captain Mosey's house, and then when our ship, the ship that they are going to board with Captain Mosey and, of course, some of Captain Mosey's crew members, and they beach down here. Let me show you on the map, that would be useful. Why else would I have made it? So we beach the boat. Captain Mosey gathers the other members of his crew once the sails have been raised and the anchors lowered, and he tells our companions, "You wait here. There will be a clear signal when time is ready. Other than that, make yourselves hidden. We don't want the other pirates to know you're here until we know who is on our side and who is not." Our companions all nod in agreement, and they find a place to hide away that they can still have somewhat of a view of the overturned ship that was retrofitted into a makeshift hall. So Captain Mosey and his crew walk their way up the beach, and they enter the hall. The sun was setting as they were making their way here, and it has all but completely set at this point, the last few little flickers of daylight fading fast in the sky. The weather still a bit cloudy, a little bit of drizzle here and there from that large storm that was covering this entire island earlier in this day. So I have a quick question. So last time, okay, we do need to set up a scene first, and I'm gonna take care of that real quick. But last time we finished our previous scene and we knocked the chaos factor down to 4, being as our companions were mostly in control of everything that was going on that round. It was very unchaotic. So we are currently sitting at a chaos factor of 4. So let's set up our new scene. Let's just call it Riot at the Hall. And we did have some updated adventure lists. We had Corfer on there. I think that was actually it. And we added one of the threads, which was Start the Riot. I believe I named it something else, but it doesn't matter because it's the same basics. And we'll just throw Corfer on there. Okay. Alright. Now with all that set, I do have a question. Does all of our companions follow orders and just sit here and wait for the signal, the fighting to ensue inside this Captain's Hall? Alright. I'm gonna say that it is very unlikely. On a chaos factor 4, do all of our companions just sit here quietly and wait for the signal? 34, that is a no. Of course they don't. And I'm gonna roll to see who doesn't. Ooh, and it looks like I was gonna make the I didn't state it beforehand. I was gonna make the highest one be the one who doesn't stay, and that was a tie between Hei Xing and Kahola, which are the 2 most likely, in my opinion, anyway. So we'll do one more. 2 and a 3, and that is Kahola. Perfect. That is kind of what I wanted, but I like to let the dice decide things for the most part. All right, so Kahola decides to do something, but what does Kahola decide to do? We are just simply going to roll on the actions table. 19, close, and 15, close completion. Close completion. I think that Kahola, without putting much thought into it, Kahola, after a few minutes of sitting here waiting, grows extremely impatient. And let's run this by Lyra and see what Lyra can actually come up with. Okay, Lyra, so our companions have made it to Captain's Hall, where Captain Mosey has told them to wait aboard the ship until they see clear signs that the riot has begun. But, of course, Kahola being Kahola, decided that he wasn't going to wait around. What do you think Kahola would do?
Kahola would likely sneak off to gather information or create a distraction. He might start by scouting the area for potential opportunities to stir up trouble, either by rallying locals or causing some mischief to expedite the riot. He's not one to sit still when there's action to be had.
Alright, so since there are no locals around right now to interact with, what decision do you think he would make?
In that case, Kahola might try to sneak closer to the action to get a better look. He might look for a vantage point to observe what's happening, or find a way to eavesdrop on any conversations that might give him more information. He's always eager to take matters into his own hands.
Okay, I like that idea actually, Lyra. Thank you. I'm gonna say that Kahola decides that he is going to find a vantage point. I'm gonna say on the roof somewhere. So he uses his water bending to kind of propel himself up onto the roof. And actually, since we need to actually start rolling things, I'm gonna make him do a rely on your skills and training roll. Rely on your skills and training is a focus roll. So he gets a +1 to this. Oh no. Okay, that's only a 4, which is a miss. So as Kahola does in fact propel himself up onto the roof with his water bending, he makes a sound that alerts somebody. I don't think it's a dead giveaway, but I think it's enough that one of the other pirates kind of like nudges a pirate standing next to him. He's like, "Go check that out. That doesn't sound right. I don't like this. The meeting just started, and Captain Ninka wants it to go according to plan." So one of the pirates goes out to the front door, and our other companions who are watching sees this happen. Does anybody go? Because from where they are, they have a pretty good vantage point of the building. It's not extremely far off, but at the same time, it's not right next to them either. So they can see Kahola as he kind of propels himself up on the roof, and then just a moment later, a pirate comes out. Looks like he's investigating what's going on. So does any of our other companions go to assist Kahola? I'm thinking that is nearly certain. Ooh, a 92. Nearly certain 92. That is a no, they do not. Okay, well, alright, I feel like that is kind of out of character for Honu. So I'll tell you what, since I have not once moved a balance tracker on any of our characters, I'm going to move Honu's balance tracker towards trust, because I feel like that takes a lot of trust in Kahola. Did I say that right? Honu is putting a lot of trust in Kahola that he is not getting ready to fuck this up. So apparently none of our companions make a move. They see the pirate come out of the hall and he's investigating. But Kahola also notices this too. Let's see, is there any roll I could make for that? I don't think so. Alright, well, let's just put it to a fate chart roll then. Alright, so Kahola does notice the guard come out, and he kind of tries to make himself as flat against the roof as he can. Because with it being a upturned ship, there's not really... From standing on the ground and looking up, you can see most of all of the roof here. So I'm gonna make it a likely. Does the pirate see Kahola as he's attempting to hide on the roof? Ooh, a 66. That is a no. He does not see him. And even though it is doubles, it is above our chaos factor. We have not had a random event yet in this whole series, but that is okay. So Kahola makes himself tight against the roof, successfully hiding from the pirate who came out to investigate. The pirate looks around and kind of like in a Skyrim guard way, it's like, "Oh, what was that? Must have been the wind." And he goes back inside, tells the other pirate, "I don't know. It must have just been a coconut falling on the roof, perhaps. I do not know." So for now, Kahola is safe, and Kahola does indeed find a nice little loose board that he can just barely peek through and witness what is going on in this meeting here. And since we do have ears on this meeting, let us, me and you, the audience, let's see what's going on in here. And let's just roll on the character conversations table, because I feel like that's kind of applicable to this current situation. We have 20, which is... Bear with me for a second. 20 is classy. And one more. 68. Classy. Macabre? Well, I'm not smart enough to know what that means. I believe it is pronounced macabre. And apparently it has something to do with like death and ghosts, grim type things. So, with macabre and classy, I'm just going to tie that into more or less what we were already expecting. And speaking of expecting, we need to set up that scene. We set the scene up, but we did not roll to see if the scene was going to progress how we wanted it to. So, we are currently at a chaos factor 4. Oh, shit. We rolled a 1. Okay, so a 1 is just an altered scene. It is not interrupted, so how we expect the scene to go is we show up, we wait in the shadows, we attack when Captain Mosey attacks, we win, and we save the day. So this is going to be altered somehow, but how exactly is it going to be altered? Let's go with description. How is this going to be altered? 95. Threateningly. And 34. Threateningly forlorn. Alright, I have a bit of an idea with that. I believe that we, on the meta side of this, know that Captain Ninka was expecting Captain Mosey. I was planning on rolling for this anyway, but since it came up in this way, I'm going to roll with that. Captain Ninka is expecting Captain Mosey to do something, whether it be a riot or just talk back to her, or in some way oppose what she is going to propose. And that is actually going to fit nicely with our classy and macabre. Sorry, I'm learning new words over here. So as Kahola sits on the rooftop listening in, Captain Ninka begins her speech. Okay, all of you. I know that some of you have reservations as to how we have been handling things since my recent takeover here. While others of you are profiting greatly, others of you seem to be very whiny and complaining quite a bit. She kind of glances at Captain Mosey briefly, not enough to kind of give it away, but just a very angered glare. So, I gathered you all here tonight because, well, we need to go over something. We need to, let's see how to put this. We need to get the rotten fruit out of the baskets. We need to air out the place, if you catch my drift. And at this time, Captain Mosey, I think he's starting to catch... let's roll for that. It's Captain Mosey starting to catch on. I'm saying it's very likely. Chaos Factor 4. 51, yes, he is. But we have... Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Let's get back to the map. So we have Captain Tang Fei, who we know for sure is behind Captain Ninka. And we have Captain Mosey, and we also have a Captain Duga, who has not came up yet. So we need to roll to see what Captain Duga is going to do. So as it is right now, Captain Mosey is outnumbered, but we need to find out Captain Duga's plans. I'm just simply going to put it to a yes or no. Is Captain Duga going to back Captain Mosey in this? And I'm going to make it a 50-50, which unfortunately at a Chaos Factor 4 only gives a 35% chance of a yes. So Captain Mosey's kind of on the outs right now, but let's see. Is Captain Duga going to back Captain Mosey? 45, no, he is not going to. Fuck, that means Captain Mosey is going to be all alone when this riot ensues, but perhaps not, because we know that he was in contact with Captain Kangana. So, I'm thinking that while our other three companions are on board the boat watching, they see a couple extra boats come up ashore. Smaller boats, very small. I'd say if it has a sail, they're just a very small sail, but very stealthily creeping off of each of the boats, almost like little spiders scurrying across the sand up to the captain's hall. They see other pirates dressed in black, and tailing them at the very end, a female captain pirate, long hair, a beautiful captain's hat atop her head, large cutlass at her side. And she doesn't sneakily walk, she struts her way up the beach towards the captain's hall. And inside the captain's hall, as Kahola looks down, he can see Captain Mosey standing up at the table, who knows what's getting ready to happen. All the other captains, well, the 2 other captains, there's only 4 people really at this meeting. In my head, it's a large table with tons of people, but apparently it's only 4 people. So Captain Mosey probably knew what he was getting into with this. And we actually never figured out whether Captain Mosey was a bender or not. In my head, he's kind of not, so I'm going to just go 50-50 since it still makes it unlikely that he is. Is Captain Mosey a bender? Ooh, 35. That's right on the dot of a yes, so he is a bender, but I'm thinking since it was almost a no, that none of these other people know that he's a bender because he does not use his bending. He uses his training with weapons out on the sea and during whenever time he needs combat. So he pulls his sword out, relying on his sword at first. The other pirates as well draw their swords. Let's... Are any of them benders? I'm going to say it's nearly certain. 62. Ooh, yes, they are. Okay, so we have a few benders. As they start... As, in fact, a riot does begin inside this hall. Let's try that again. Okay. And indeed, the riot begins inside the captain's hall here. I believe that Kahola, standing above on the roof, looking down at Captain Mosey, he can see that Captain Mosey is alone in there. So... Alright, I'm going to do another rely on your skills and training for Kahola. He is going to try to use his water tentacles, because like say, he has like almost like squid-like tentacles. That's how he uses his water bending. It seems pretty cool in my head, honestly. Okay, but so he uses his water tentacles and he uses them to latch on to the loose boards of this roof and just attempt to rip the... So Kahola forms his water tentacles and has them all latch onto the planks of the roof and attempt to rip them apart so he can just drop down in like Doc Ock or something. Alright. Is he able to do it? That's a focus roll. Ooh, that's a 6, 7, 8. With a +1, that's a 9. Oh, so a 9 is a weak hit. On a 7 to 9, you do it imperfectly. The GM tells you how your approach might lead to unexpected consequences. Accept those consequences or mark 1 fatigue. Tell you what, just to save time of me not making that up, we're just going to have Kahola mark 1 fatigue because he successfully tears the timbers down. As he drops in, he kind of miscalculates a little bit and he lands hard on the center table, and that is what gives him that 1 mark of fatigue. Captain Mosey kind of smirks because I think Captain Mosey's probably expecting more than just Kahola to drop in. And as Kahola drops in, the doors burst open from the outside, and all the darkly dressed pirates that came ashore afterwards begin to fill in as well. But The other pirate crews from the opposing pirates are all getting in on this as well. So seeing this, our companions on the boat are going to jump in the water and begin their way up to the captain's hall to join the battle as well. And we're going to have our first combat here. So let's move on over to the combat page, which I have not used yet because it has not been relevant. Okay, and actually we're actually going to cut all that out, and I'm just going to skip ahead to this part. We gave it a pretty good effort here. I've spent a lot of time trying to do this battle, but I'm really in over my head, and it's taken a lot longer, and we're really not getting anywhere. So we are going to just do a fate chart roll for a couple of these things. Now we are going to keep with the fact that Kahola was on the roof and he came crashing in, and that's where we are going to go back to. So Kahola crashing through the roof to help out Captain Mosey as the other pirates came kicking down the door at virtually the same time. So Captain Ninka, backed by her other pirates, engage with Captain Mosey, Kahola, and the other pirates who we don't know of right now, but we do actually know on the meta side that this is Captain Kengana and her crew. So a few back and forths are exchanged. And at the end of this exchange, who is currently winning the battle? Is Captain Ninka currently winning the battle? I'm going to say 50-50 at a chaos factor of 4. 24, that is a yes. So currently Captain Ninka has the upper hand in this battle. Captain Mosey and Kahola have taken a few licks. Is Captain Mosey still up and fighting? Let's go. I'm gonna say that it's likely. Is Captain Mosey still up and fighting? 45, yes he is. Barely, but he is. Is Kahola still up and fighting? I'm gonna say that's very likely. Is Kahola still up and fighting? Ooh, 30 on the dot. That's a yes as well. Okay, but a lot of the pirates that came in afterwards have been taken out of the combat scenario, and a few also on Captain Ninka's side. She isn't currently unscathed, but she does still have the upper hand. And after that exchange, Captain Kengana comes striding in the door. Her sword already in hand. Is Captain Kengana a bender? 50-50. 75. No, Captain Kengana is not a bender. So yes, indeed, she has her sword in her hand as she walks in. She looks at Captain Ninka and she says, "Your reign here is through. I am taking back leadership of this island. You have done nothing but squander your leadership here. Though you may have these fools behind you, I will not let you continue down this path." And she strides in, and we do another mock exchange. Now let's see who. Okay, so how do we put this to a dice roll? Let's just make it black and white, pretty much. Does Captain Ninka prevail in this exchange? I'm going to make it 50-50, which is still actually very unlikely for her to prevail. But does Captain Ninka prevail in this exchange? 14. She does. Damn, so she takes some out. Captain Mosey has been knocked out. Okay, Captain Mosey was knocked out. I'm going to say that even though our companions came in too, Captain Ninka was prepared for this battle. She knew that something was going to happen. Maybe not exactly everything that happened, but she was prepared, and she had extra pirates hiding back in the forest. And once they saw these pirates creeping up the beach, they crept in behind them, and they had the upper hand, and indeed they won this battle. So Captain Mosley was knocked out. I think Captain Kangana is still fighting. Nope. I already said that they lost. So Captain Kangana also lost too, and our companions were defeated. Now, if I had played that all out, we could have spent the next 2 hours here and possibly could have won that. But I put it up to the dice, and that is why I like putting things up to the dice. So our companions are defeated in that exchange, and that is where we are going to stop this episode, I believe. I'm going to try to edit a lot of that out. It's still almost an hour on my side before editing. But thank you guys for watching, and we will pick up next time where our companions were just defeated by Captain Ninka and her cunning pirates. Thank you all for watching so much, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, friends.